Thank you, Valerie. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this incredible webinar with Carl White. I am a huge fan, and he is such a big supporter of FAMP. I'm Linda Knowlton, the FAMP president.
Not sure if we
for next year. So we all welcome everyone here, and a couple housekeeping items. You can put your camera on, and if you have questions, just type them in the chat box. This is kind of a free-flowing webinar that is at the request of Carl. So Nathaniel, I'm going to have you do all the introductions. So thank you all.
Thank you everybody for attending. My name is Nathaniel Bittman, and I serve as the state treasurer for the Florida Association of Mortgage Professionals, and our series of wanting to make sure that our members have content and information that's valuable for you to make yourself relevant in an ever-changing market. We have a special guest this morning, and a personal dear friend of mine that I've known for over 20 years, Mr. Carl White. And really are speaking with Carl and knowing him so well as I have for such a long period of time, and sort of following him around. I'm almost a groupie, if you would, and I've gotten to learn some of the content and information he's presented out there about really today's environment. This is sort of the differentiator. This is kind of where we separate the men for the boys, and really from a large perspective, being relevant today, and some of the tactics and techniques and strategies that the marketing animals present today becomes incredibly relevant. So thank you for the generosity, Carl. Carl White is the founder and CEO of Marketing Animals, a successful mortgage marketing training program. White is also a non-producing branch manager at one of the top mortgage branches in America, and the host of the #1 podcast for loan officers, loanofficerfreedom.com. Mortgage Marketing Animals teaches the strategies that originators in White's own branch use today to close more loans in less time. Learn more by visiting mortgagemarketinganimals.com. Mr. Carl White, thank you for your friendship and your contribution to the FAMP. Let her rip, sir.
So first of all, Valerie, also longtime friend, Linda, appreciate what you do with the association. I always tell everybody, and Nathaniel's heard this 100 times, I do what I do because I don't have what it takes to do what you do. And it's just an honor to participate with this. And Nathaniel, thank you so much for graciously reading that awesome standing ovation review that I sent you over to read. So I really, I couldn't have said it better myself. Oh, I
can follow instructions. I did
it myself. So yeah. So. All right. So here's what we're going to do. So those of you that know me, I take a very casual approach. So feel free to chime in, ask a question. Probably the best way to do it as people are coming in, type something in the chat button, and maybe either Valerie or Nathaniel or Linda could help me with the chat button. I have prepared a little bit of a PowerPoint. There's zero chance I'm going to get through all of it. But I'm going to give you access to the full PowerPoint and continue training for free. So there's no charge for anything. We're not selling anything here today. So everything I'm talking about and showing you and give reference to is all going to be free and free access for as long as you want it. So I think that's about it. So let me jump over to and do a screen share here. And so get on here, share screen, share. Awesome. We should be seeing my screen okay.
We are. Yes,
right,
we are.
Perfect. So I thought what we'd talk about here today is just kind of like a what's working now type of thing. Cause here's the issue we've had, and we've all been guilty of this, certainly myself. For the last couple of years, we've had a major tailwind, and probably even a couple of years before that, but certainly the last 2 years, frankly, we just showed up and we all wrote a ton of loans. My team last year did $2 billion. Actually, I say $2 billion. It actually wasn't. We were 30 million short of doing $2 billion.
Wow. I
was going to go borrow 30 million myself just to get us over that $2 billion. But so we did $1.97 billion last year, my own personal team. And frankly, it wasn't that hard. Like, it just wasn't. We answered the phone when it rang. We did some prospecting. Frankly, we didn't have to do much. We were coasting downhill, right? And there's nothing wrong with doing that from time to time. What we're all finding ourselves in right now, though, is we're back to what I would call normal. And suddenly normal, when you've been coasting downhill with a 50-mile-an-hour wind helping you coast downhill. And suddenly you get on flat terrain and the wind stops. It feels like the wind's in our face, but it's not. And this is normal. Like what we're coming into is normal times. It's just, we got so used to easy that we have to start going into proactive activity. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today, is like in the what's working now. First thing though, I think we have to have what I call a clarity of the current situation. Because just like you, I see news about the skies falling, and maybe it is, it's like, man, this is going up and this is going up and this is going down. And maybe we're in a recession, maybe we're not, maybe we're heading one, maybe we're not. And we have all this noise coming in. You go, well, what is the truth? Where are we at? And so I don't expect you to be able to read this slide because I know there's a lot of information on it. What I want you to do is I want you to look at the trend of it though. Pardon me. And I want you to look at the green. I want you to look at the green, because the green is the purchase business, right? The green is the purchase loans that we've had for the last, since 2002, the last decade, and what they're projecting us to see for the next couple of years going forward. And if we look at the green, we can see, back here, we were, 1.28 trillion, and these are in trillions of dollars, by the way. So we can see that we kind of went up, and then we went through the crash that I know many of us experienced, right? It was a very difficult time, and it was. And we can see that volumes decreased during that time, and then it's been going up and up and up and up. And if we look at this, let me move this over to the other side so I can see. If we look at this, we can see that 2022 is still slated for doing in the neighborhood of $1.7 trillion in purchase mortgages. And I've seen different expectations of what it's like this year going forward. The worst, the most pessimistic is that we're going to be the third best. So the best says we're going to be the best year ever. The most pessimistic says we're going to be the third best year ever in the history of mortgages on purchase deals. And so the idea that, and I hear these things too, and it catches my eye also, nobody's buying houses, rates are too high, who's going to do this? That's not the true situation. So the clarity of the current situation is we are in still record-breaking, at very worst, top 3 years in the mortgage business on purchases. And if we look at the projections for 2022 and 23 and 24, they're just phenomenal. So we're set for this year and the next several years to just be absolutely stellar, previously unprecedented volumes on purchase deals. So I think it's real important that as we're working and we're looking to become like relevant, which I know is a topic today, in the current situation, we have to know what the current situation is and what to expect. So I know over at my shop on our purchase deals, we're expecting this year to be perhaps the best year ever, at worst, our third best year ever. And any one of those would be remarkable. So I think it's real important that we understand that. So I want to point something out here, and I'm a little dramatic in the way I say it here, but I'm gonna risk being uncool or and I don't mean to do that, but I think it's very important for you to know the truth, and I'm gonna risk our relationship, so to speak. Sounds very dramatic, because what is it? You deserve the truth, right? And here's the truth. There's 4 reasons and 4 reasons only that loan officers' volume is down. 4 reasons and four reasons only. Reason number 1, they don't have a plan. Reason number 2, their plan sucks. Reason number 3, they have a good plan, but their implementation of that plan sucks. Or number 4, they're looking for something else to blame other than the first 3 reasons. That's it. We get into this thing, and trust me, I fall guilty of that too sometimes, where I want to do what's called BS. And what BS stands for is blame somebody. I want to blame somebody. Well, the reason my volume down is because of this or that or this or that. Nope. The reason my volume is down, if it is 1, I don't have a plan. 2, my plan sucks. 3, my implementation of a good plan sucks. That's it. There is no other reason. So, and the problem I've seen with most plans is either A, they're designed by somebody that doesn't even actually do loans, right? So I've always found in my world, like if I want to be successful, all I got to do is hang out with successful people like Linda, like Valerie, like Nathaniel, and just do what they do. If I do what they do in Nathaniel's shop and his branch, I'm going to get the same results. If I do it the same way to the same kind of people, the same kind of time frame, I'm going to get great results. So I always like to find who's our top producers, who's like at the top of their game, and man, nail my hip to their hip and be their new best friend, which is why, just being perfectly transparent, I say partnered up. We're not partners, but I friended up with Nathaniel some 20 years ago, because the dude was at the top of his game, and that's worked out real well for me. The other issue with some plans that I've seen is they're not tested, or frankly, if they're too complicated. You know, there's a new buzzword in marketing called funnels, and nothing wrong with funnels, but I think we have to be careful with them, that we don't get into something that's too complicated, or we end up with something that looks like this. And, you know, and Nathaniel, I look at something like this and I get chest pain, and I look at that and go,
I was about to tune out. We had a great webinar. I'm out of here.
Yeah. And one thing that I'm known for in the industry is I'm known to make things simple. And I'm just going to be perfectly transparent here. And I'm not being, quote, humble by saying this, but I literally have what's called a low complexity ceiling. In other words, things have to be real simple for me, like they really do. And so when I see complex situations, I can't follow that. I have to simple it up a little bit so that I can follow it. And so that's what we're going to do. And I kind of put together something that a lot of people are using, and you guys are certainly absolutely have my permission to completely swipe, because we're going to give it all to you. What I call a 4-step simple plan, frankly, to make your phone ring again. Like, how do we make our phone ring again? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, one thing that we have to put into place before we start making the phone ring, we have to have one thing 100% absolutely in place. And that thing is, we have to have somebody to actually answer the phone. Now, we might chuckle here, but Nathaniel, I just did a test. So this was fascinating. It shocked me, and I'm almost embarrassed to show it here. And I don't do this to be uncool, but I think it's a real important thing to see. I did a test. I called 100 random loan officers. So these weren't people in my coaching. These weren't, Nathaniel, you were not on this list. This was like, I got a random list of loan officers throughout the country. At 2:00 one afternoon, we called 100 loan officers. And here's what we found. 89 went to voicemail. 89. Wow. 89% went to voicemail. 9 of those voicemails were full. I don't even know what that looks like. Like, how many, I should have Googled that, I guess. I have no clue. How many voicemails do you have to have before Verizon, who has one of the largest servers on earth, I would imagine, go, dude, you got so many voicemails, we can't handle it. We're saying your voicemail's full. I don't even know how many that is, but it's got to be more than just a handful. Like, it's got to be, I would imagine, I don't know, 10, 20, 50. I don't know what the number is, but it's more than 1 or 2. I can tell you that. So 9 of them, almost 10%, couldn't leave a message even if I wanted to. Only 11 of those 100 actually answered the phone. Wow. And I thought that was just absolutely remarkable. That really surprised me. And here's where this is so devastating. I want you to really catch it. This may be one of the most important points that I talk about here today. And it's such an easy one to fix. Is so 79% of the time it went to voicemail, right? And actually answering the phone is more important than anything else. And by saying that, 79% of the people that closed a loan with the first loan officer they talked to. So you have a 79% of the chance of closing a loan if you're the first person they talk to. You got a 79% chance. Yeah, I mix it up there for a second. That's not the amount of people that answer the phone. 79% of the people will close your loan, or will close a loan with you if you're the first person they talk to. That was a shocking revelation to me. I just found this out probably about 4 months ago. That's a shocking number to me, because what that meant, Nathaniel, is actually answering my phone is more important than my rate, my closing costs, my speed of closing, the company I work for, my reputation, nothing else I know. And I know a lot of, as all of us do, I know a lot of different things. Nothing else I know gives me a 79% chance of closing that loan. If I have a better rate, that doesn't give me a 79% chance, right? If I work for an amazing company, I can close you in 14 days. I've got 153 Google 5-star reviews. None of that gives us a 79% chance of closing the loan. And that's just a remarkable number. I want that to really sink in, that if, like, let's say, Nathaniel, let's say hypothetically you're brand new in the business. And let's say I've been doing this for decades, which I have. And let's say I got the best script, man, I am smooth as wet ice on wet ice, right? I am really good at what I do, right? I know just what to say. I know just how to do it. And this is going to take a bit of stretch on everybody's imagination. I look like Brad Pitt. Like, I'm just absolutely amazing, right? And you're brand new, Nathaniel. You're absolutely brand new. You just got started, like literally last week. You don't know anything just yet. Who does it one weekend, right? If you answer them, if you talk to them first, you've got a 79% chance of closing that loan. And I've got like a 2 out of 10 chance of closing that loan. Even though if I got a better rate, better closing costs, speed of closing, no more. I know programs like the back of my hand, you'll kick my butt every day of the week if you answer the phone before I do. Just that simple. So that's a really big point, because nothing else gives you a 79% chance of closing that deal. I just want you to get that, because I want you to picture, like, if you're running a 100-mile race. Look, we could put me on a bicycle and Lance Armstrong on a bicycle, with or without the steroids, right? If it's a 100-mile race and Lance gives me a 79-mile head start, I'll beat him in a 100-mile race. Now, with a 50-mile head start, it'd be close. But with a 79-mile head start, I'll beat Lance Armstrong. So you do not want to give your competition a 79% chance of closing that loan. This is just a really, really important deal. And I want to make sure everybody gets this, because it's such an easy thing to fix. And the good news is, it is an easy fix. So we found no decrease in closing ratios when an assistant answer the phone for us when we're unavailable. And we also found this true when we use answering service. Now, I'm not promoting an answering service. I have no affiliation with any of them. The one I use, who do we use? We use
Answer First. Was it Answer First?
Answer First, I'm sure, is a great company. I think I use Voice Nation. And again, it's not about, just any of them is fine. Like,
that was going to be my question, Carl. I was going to ask you, and I think you've referenced before, if you and I are doing a one-on-one, I don't want to be rude and take the phone call, right? So if somebody else answers the call, does that still create the probability very high?
We found it. So we started tracking this stuff. And if we're the first person to talk to them, we're going to close that loan. And all of them, no, but about 80% of them.
Yeah.
Right. So if they end up buying a house, right? If they end up buying a house, if they end up doing the loan, if we talk to them first, we're at about that 80, anywhere from 75 to about 80. So about 80%. Like, so those numbers fall in track with us. And we found, like, in my office, I don't have voicemail, like literally we don't have it, that either A, somebody is going to answer the phone, or B, the answering service is going to answer the phone. The answering service, I'm not going to go into, should it be stateside or should it be offshore? I think the biggest thing about the answering services is, number one, they answer it. Nathaniel's awesome mortgage company. This is Jill, or this is Bob. How can I help you today? Right. And as long as they answer it, not because you don't want them to answer it, Nathaniel's answering service, this is Lisa. How can I help you? No. This is Nathaniel's awesome mortgage company. This is Bob. How can I help you today? Right. And we found that even if you take a message, which is in essence the same as a voicemail, we still did not lose those people, because they feel like they're in progress. Because on those people, what we do is we would set, like in Nathaniel, in your case, is that person would answer the phone, and either A, if it's a processing question, well, we'd send it to the processor, right? If it's to do a new application, if you have an assistant, we would send it to whoever can would move everybody to the front of the line and have somebody else, a licensed person, of course, in our case, to help them with that application. Or if it's the answering service, to set an appointment on your calendar. And what we found is when people feel like they're moving forward by having an appointment with you, Nathaniel, and whether it's today at 2:00 or tomorrow morning at 11, didn't seem to deter from us achieving that around 79 or 80% if we're the first person to talk to them. So if you don't have an assistant, get an answering service. I think our answering service, I don't even know. I think it's, and I might be a little off, but I think it's like $150 a month or something like that. And we get a lot of calls, like we get a lot of calls. But whether you call on Saturday morning, 2:00 Wednesday AM, or during business hours, at my office, the phone rings 4 times. And if everybody's on the phone and we can't get to it on the 4th ring, it then forwards it to the answering service. After hours on the weekends, they pick it up on ring 1 or 2. So they pick up real quick. So this might seem like a small point. It'll give you an 80% chance of closing that loan. And I'm going to tell you, my friends, that is that's not a small point. That's a very, very big point. So so now that we've figured out now we have to figure out, how much do you want your phone to ring? And I think, one thing we have to be careful of is we can't go, well, I want the phone to ring so I close more loans. Well, how many is more? Well, I want to make more money. Well, how much is more? And so I've always thought it's really important. Like, if you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there. And so I've always found it very important to have a very specific, I'm looking to do this many loans, or I'm looking to have this many closings. And it's not up to me or Linda or Valerie or Nathaniel to tell you how much you need to make. I can say, well, you need to make this much. Hell, I don't know how much you need to make. That's for you to figure out. But you have to figure out how much money, do you plan to make? You got to know what that number is so that we can reverse engineer what activity we need to do. And for instance, and I'm just going to use some arbitrary number. I'm not recommending this number, because one thing I found, like when we're looking to increase our income, what I used to say is, well, I want to double. And then it was like, well, why? Where'd that come from? I don't know. It sounds like more. Well, what if I find out that doubling doesn't get me what I think it will, and I doubled my income and I still feel short? I still feel not fulfilled because I still haven't done those things that I want to do. Mm-hmm. Or what if I find out that I mapped out to make $1 million and come to find out 400,000 will do exactly what I want to do. It'll buy me this house, buy me this car, set up this retirement, give to these charities. And maybe I didn't have to build this $1 million income, but a 400,000 work with me just fine. And so I think you have to like reverse engineer. I want to live in this house. It costs this much. I want this car. I want this many vacations. I want to save this much money. I want to get the prepaid college out of the way. I want to build a school in Haiti, or whatever those things are, and then simply figure out how much of those make and then reverse engineer. So we're going to do a little bit of that right now using an arbitrary, not a recommended number, but just something that's easy to work up multiples of, is for a $500,000 per year income, which may be more, maybe less. Some of you go, I make twice that much now. Well, then just use multiples of that to hit your number. So for a $500,000 a year income, and we have to make some assumptions here, and this always is kind of a dangerous thing to do, but I'm going to assume that you make $3,000 per loan. Now, some of you make half that, right? All cool. Some of you make double that. And what I base it on is 100 basis points. Now, some of you might get paid 20 basis points because your company provides you the leads. Awesome. And some of you might make, multiples thereof of the 100 basis points. But just for the purpose of picking some easy math, that's what I picked here. Average loan amount, $300,000. So if I make $3,000 per loan, to make $500,000, I need to close 167 loans for the year. And again, if I want to make $1 million, I just double that number, right? So just use multiples thereof, which in this case equates to $14 loans per month. Now, for somebody that might seem like a big number, somebody a small number, but again, use multiples thereof. Now, if I want to close 14 loans per month, now I have to ask myself, well, how many leads do I need per day to make that happen? And I'm just going to give you my own numbers, and yours might be different, but it's probably not too far from this. So for me, Nathaniel, 50% of my leads are approvable. In other words, and I'm not talking about buying leads on, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm not talking about buying leads on Zillow or Facebook leads that come in, they usually convert at somewhere between 0.5% to maybe 2% on the high side. So you'd have to add a lot of zeros to what we're talking about. So I'm talking about referred leads because that's the kind that we do over here most of the time. And so if I get a referred lead, about half of them are approvable. We'll go, Carl, what's wrong with the other half? Well, the other half, either something's wrong. I hate to use the word wrong, but either the person has an issue or the property has an issue. Maybe the person just went 1099. Maybe the property is a double wide up on stilts by the beach, right? We actually get those calls, because we have some of those in my area of Florida, but I can't loan money on those. And so half of my leads are pre-approvable, and then we end up closing half of those. And you go, Carl, what happens to the other half? Well, the other half falls into that 20% because we weren't the first person to talk to them. Or it might be that they ended up not buying after all. So as a general rule, 4 leads equal 1 closing. 4 leads equal 1 closing. Now, if your numbers are different, use your numbers. If you're less than 1 closing per 4 leads, you might need to tighten up your follow-up process. Or I'll never forget, I had this one agent, her first name was Lisa, right? Awesome lady. And I really liked her, super, super lady. And man, I got a lot of leads from her. And after about 6 months, we figured out, I don't know where she's getting these leads from, but they were not closable. Like these people were just, in very, very, very difficult situations. And so I stopped working on that, at least the business side of that relationship. I stopped working on it because it was giving me a lot of leads that weren't closing. And somebody else that was giving me a third of the leads, we actually had more closings with. Or one of my famous stories, Nathaniel, is I like going to flea markets, right? It's just the kind of guy I am. I love going to flea markets. So I was at a flea market and I got this great idea. Man, there's a lot of people walking around here, right? And so I thought, well, I'm going to set up a little kiosk here and give out like little widgets or something and get leads for mortgages, because there's a ton of people here. And so don't ever do that. Like that was a horrible source of leads that I thought the general public went there because I'm the general public and I love going to those things. But yeah, that was not a good source of leads. So if we're using good source of leads and good referral partners, should be somewhere 4 leads equal 1 closing. So now we have some easy math. If I want to make 500,000, I need 14 loans per month, which means I need 56 leads per month, referred leads, which means I need 14 leads per week, which means I need 2 leads per day. Now you go, wait a minute, Carl, that includes Saturday, Sunday. I don't like working Saturday and Sunday. Understand that when we have the right system set up, that we can get referrals in over the weekend and like goes to the website, perhaps to take an application. Maybe we have somebody that works part-time only on the weekends. Let's say if me and Nathaniel and Linda, and this is hypothetical, are working for let's say we all work for Linda's company and we take turns on who's, carrying what we call the football or carrying the cell phone for the weekend. So we can put systems and processes in place that those 2 leads that come in on Saturday and those 2 leads that come on Sunday can start getting worked on, even if, we're not the ones in the office that day. So this really becomes the question is, how do we get 2 leads a day? Because I think that's a biteable amount. That's not like, well, we need 436 leads coming in today. It's like, I don't even know where to start with that. But if I got 8 hours, if I have 8 hours and I spent 4 of those hours prospecting, I can't believe that I can't prospect, meet people, make phone calls, network, go to my like Chamber of Commerce leads meetings or what is that, BNI. I can't believe that working 4 hours a day on prospecting, I can't get 2 leads, 2 referred leads, right? If I'm really doing it, I think you'll agree with me that number becomes very, very, very easy and very attainable. So 2 leads per day equals 14 loans a month equals $500,000 in income. Does that make sense, Nathaniel?
Oh yeah, perfect sense. And based on the data analytics you presented earlier, that we're projected in the 3rd largest volume market for purchases, and given the number of realtors and VIPs and everything else that's out there, that should be very achievable.
And we see it all day long. And here's the funny thing I've seen about this stuff. and we've all seen it, is that I used to think that somebody that makes, well, hell, even 500,000 was like, oh my God, how do you do that? And that they must be like Anthony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey, where they have this commanding presence, and they walk in the room and everybody goes, wow, this is an amazing person. But that's not what I found. What I found is that loan officers, they're making 500,000, $1 million. I just talked with a guy in our group literally just yesterday that made $6 million as W-2 income as a loan. He doesn't own the company. He's a hired gun, just like I am, just like you are, Nathaniel. He just, he's just a working loan officer, made $6 million. He's no Superman. I found that these loan officers that are making these large incomes, they're not Superwoman, they're not Superman. They tend to be the Clark Kents, and that it's just not that hard to make this happen. And the good news is, like, if I want to make $1 million, well, it's simple math. I just need 4 leads a day. I need 28 loans a month, or whatever multiples thereof, and that's all I got to do. It's just so the question really becomes, here's the question. The question isn't, how do I survive? How do I thrive? How do I make $1 million? The question is, how do I get 2 referred leads per day? That's my question. That's it. What kind of team, what kind of tools, what kind of processes? Got to be simple. But what do I need to put in place to get 2 referred leads per day? That's really the burning question. And so as we've got some time to go on here, but that's your takeaway question for you is, what can I do to get 2 referred leads a day? Or if you want to make $1 million, what do I need to do to get 4 referred leads per day? And I think we can all agree that doesn't sound that hard. And it's not that hard. All right. Okay. So what I'm going to map out for you, and again, there's 0 chance we're going to cover all this, but I've got, I'm going to give you everything anyway. But it's a 4-part simple plan. But here's the thing, we have to be proactive about this. In other words, how we're going to get those 4 referred leads, or those 2 referred leads per day, depending on what you want to make, or 8 if you want to make $2 million. How do we get those 8 referred leads per day? Is by being proactive. The days of us sitting by the phone and picking it up and just answering it, not having to do anything other than maybe on social media, hey, I got rates at 2% today. Anybody want to refinance? And I did that too, right? We had the calls came in, right? Of course they did. It's not like that now, though. We have to be proactive about this. And if we think about a football team, as a general rule, you have a defense and an offense of a football team. And as a general rule, the offense, the proactive part of the team, is what makes all the scores. Right, the defense keeps you in place, but the offense is who makes the score. They're the ones that run up the scoreboard, and so that's what we have to do. Is we have to put ourselves into the proactive mode, and at all cost, we have to block those things that cause us to go back into the reactional mode. We have to be proactive. And my argument on this, Nathaniel, is I've shown that if we're just proactive for 2 hours a day, not 8, not 10, not 12, 2 hours of proactive activity a day, I think you'll see that the getting 2, 4, 8 referred leads per day is not that hard as long as we stay proactive, but we have to guard ourselves against falling back into the reactive mode. So we go, well, what is reactive? If I was to ask everybody to raise their hand, who's in their email more than 3 hours a day, I would dare say that most hands, I get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I get it. Most hands would go up, right?
Yeah. Yes.
We have to get away from that. So for 2 hours a day, we have to stay away from email. Well, here's the problem. If I come into my office first thing in the morning and I turn my email on, here, let me do this for a second. Let's say I come in first thing in the morning and I turn my email on. What happens, Fred? Mr. Curry, what if I go in there and check my email first thing in the morning, what happens?
Oh, you get sucked in. You check
Oh,
an
man.
email and it leads down a rabbit hole because there's some issue to resolve.
Brother, that's it. And the rabbit hole goes deep, doesn't it?
Oh, very deep.
It does. Yeah. And then the other bad thing that happens is I see that issue that I have on, Jane Doe's loan. And now I'm supposed to pick up my phone and call referral partner Mike Pearson. But I go, well, wait a minute, let me take care of this problem. And God knows I don't want to call Mike and try to do business with him because I met him at the event the other day. Seemed like the nicest dude ever. God knows I don't want to bring all my problems I'm having now onto his shop because he seems like a nice guy, and I'm going to screw up and mess up. And now I've pissed off somebody that maybe I could do business with. So let me solve this problem first. And then we solve that problem. Then there's another problem. There's another problem. And that's what we call reactive, right? It's getting into the reactive mode. So the first thing we have to do is get out of the reactive mode and not check our email until after our proactive time, our prospecting time, the time that we spend working on getting those 2 referrals per day. We have to do that first and then put on our reactive hat in my world, at 11:05. We've got this saying, don't get so busy building the farm that you forget to milk the cows. Don't get so busy building the farm that you forget to milk the cows. So Fred, help us out here. How can we not check our email for the first 2 hours of the day? What do we do?
I mean, time block. Don't open it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. If I'm an alcoholic, don't open the bottle, right?
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah. Yeah.
What an analogy.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. If I'm an emailaholic, don't open the email. Stay the hell out of the bar.
So Carl, can I add one thing that I thought you might find interesting? So we talk about emails, and you talk about going down the rabbit hole and having this sort of pattern of you get into one problem, then another. And something you might find interesting is that Harvard did a study that if you do 2 things at one time, you have the cognitive ability of a Harvard graduate. Once you exceed doing 2 things at one time and you go to a third thing, cognitively, you drop to that of an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
If I'm emailing, isn't that amazing? If I'm emailing and I'm dealing with a problem, making a phone call, doing it, and it's 3 things at one time, you're talking to an 8-year-old child.
Yeah. And you have to remember, you're talking to Harvard graduates, perhaps. So I can't do 2 things. I'm a one thing guy.
You're linear. Okay.
I really am. I'm a one thing guy. If I'm doing more than one thing, I'm out. Like, I'm toast.
Yeah.
So Fred, you're right. Is we first thing in the morning, we cannot answer our email. And trust me, if there's a 911 or some sort of emergency, they're going to call, right? They're going to call. So if my house is on fire, I don't email the fire department, right? I'm going to be calling somebody. So we've got to get out our email. So there's a couple other things that can that can make us go into the reactive mode. So email is one. Here, Mike, I'm going to pick on you. What's something else that causes us to go into that reactive mode, Mike? Like, what's another interruption that we might fall into? We got email. What's something else?
Well, for me, it's, things around the house that I got to take care of. I work a lot of the house, so there's a lot of
I like that.
things that take priority.
I like that. Or it might be like your husband or your wife or your kids or your non-kids or your.
I would never blame them.
Yeah, I get it. But it might be other people, like interruptions like that.
Yes.
And so that's another one. That's number 2. So one way that I found to keep the interruptions is to shut the door. And I put a little, or if I'm at the office, I do this. My kids are grown up, so I don't really have the issue with the kids anymore. But I get those. Remember those little, what do they call them? Little tiny whiteboards that maybe those of you went to college, you'd put on your dorm room, where people would write notes and stuff with a little grease pencil or something like that. I put one of those on the outside of my office door, and I shut my door, and it says, I call it in the zone. I'm in the zone, making my calls. Finished at 11, write your question here. And one thing I found is I have no questions when I check at 11 o'clock, because they come in, they see that sign up. They're not going to wait for 2 hours for my answer. they're going to go find the answer somewhere else. And so the bottom line here is don't be Google, right? Don't be Google. Like, don't be Google for your office. And let's say me and Fred and Mike, we all work in the same office and we're buddies, right? We are buddies. And they might come in and say, hey, did you catch the game? And how about those Buccaneers? That Tom Brady, is he not amazing? Or whatever that thing is. We can't have that happen between 9 and 11. And so if I'm working in my office or I'm working at my house, in my case, I go to the lovely Mrs. White. I'd say, honey, I'm getting ready to do my prospecting time. This is from 9 to 11. And I love you. I love hanging out with you. I love talking with you. But for this 2 hours, I'm in the zone. I'm building our castle here. I'm not building a tent. I'm building a castle here. So I just need your help with that. Right. And the same thing with the loan officer wife to the husband, or the loan officer wife to the wife, or whatever. Just go to your spouse or your partner or your mate and say, hey, this is what I need to do. I need 2 hours of uninterrupted time, like no interruption for any reason whatsoever. And just let them know that, and then shut the door. I like having a thing where it's in the zone so they know it, and nobody can violate that rule. So Nathaniel and I are very dear friends. We see each other, 4 or 5 times a year. So not that often. And if I was to go into his office and I see that in the zone, even though I don't normally go there, I see his in the zone, I know I can't interrupt him, right? That's his sacred time. So we have to let those people around us know the processor, the underwriter cannot bother me for any reason at 2 hours, because my job right now is to get 2 referred loans today. So the processor has a job, the underwriter has a job, my assistant has a job, and I make 500,000, or 4 leads, so I make $1 million, or 8 leads, so I make 2 million. All right, do the math on that. The other thing that we have to watch out for is, and this is a tricky one, is inbound phone calls. So we got email, we got my buddies or my spouse, and we have inbound phone calls. You go, wait a minute, Carl, you just told me that we have to answer the phone. I did tell you that, but I didn't say you had to answer your phone. Somebody has to answer your phone. Carl, I don't have an assistant. $150, get an answering service. For 2 hours a day from 9 to 11, you cannot have incoming phone calls. So how that works for me, and might be a little, it seems simple, but it might seem advanced to some people, is I don't have my cell phone on my business card, right? I don't do it. Because if you call my cell phone and it's 10 o'clock, that's interrupting my proactive time. I'm not going to get my 2 or my 4 or my 8 referred leads, because I'm in the reactive mode. And we know that we don't make money when we're reactive. We have to be proactive. So for me, my cell phone number is not on my card. What I did in my case, and I strongly recommend it, is I had to go get a new cell phone number. And my old cell phone number is now forwarded to my office. So if you call my office, that number is what my cell phone number used to be, 10, 15 years ago when I made this change. So my new cell phone number, nobody has that. Oh, Valerie has it. Nathaniel has it. Like my buddies have it. Like Valerie has it. My buddies have it, right? My wife, my kids, but 0 clients, 0 agents have my actual cell phone number. And so I took that old number, forwarded it to the office. I got a new number, and I don't give that like anybody other than my weekend buddies. Now, some of my realtors are my weekend buddies, but they know that there's 2 phone numbers to call. This is my work number. This is my play number. If you call my play number for work, that's not going to work out, right? We can't do it because I cannot, and I tell them why. We cannot be getting interrupted when we're doing our proactive time. It just can't happen. And again, we're only talking for 2 hours a day. So either an answering service answers it. Oh, by the way, when I make my outbound phone calls, if I called Jane Doe Realtor on my cell phone, you go, wait a minute, Carl, now she's got my cell phone number. Now she's going to be calling that number. When I make outbound calls on my cell phone, I use an app, and there's multiple of these apps. I'm just going to share you the one I use. It's Ring Central. So if I call right now, if I call you on my Rings, I grab my cell phone, I open my Ring Central app, and I call out on that app. When I do that, my office number or whatever number I want shows up on the caller ID. So if I called you right now, my office line shows up the caller ID, so that when you call me back, they're going to move you to the front of the line and go ahead and start taking the application, or go ahead and make that appointment, or go ahead and make that schedule, or go ahead and have you talk to the processor, or whatever solution you need. Nobody wants to wait on Carl. One thing I found two shocking things. Number one, I'm not near as important as I thought I was. And number two, they just want the money. They don't want to talk to Carl. They just want the money. They just want the answer, and they want it right now. And they don't want to hit my voicemail and wait. So email, turn the darn thing off 2 hours a day, first thing in the morning. Don't check it before you make your calls, or your mind will start going down those rabbit holes that Fred talked about. Number two, tell my buddies, my wife, my mate, my partner, my friends, when my door's shut, you can't come in here at 2 hours a day. I love you. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm building a kingdom here. I just need you to respect this, and I'll respect you at the same time. And the last one, so there's 4 of these. The last one is my sick brain. That's the hardest one of all, my sick brain. Because what'll happen is I'll be into, so let's say I start making my proactive outbound calls, which we're going to talk about those. I start making my proactive outbound calls at 9 o'clock, and by 9:45, man, I got 2 of my leads. I'm looking for 4 because I want to make that $1 million. I got 2 of them already at 9:45. Go, that was awesome. And you'll think, man, not only is Carl devilishly handsome, by God, this works, right? This is working. And so I'm going to go celebrate at 9:45 by going to check my email, right? Don't do that. So when my brain tells me to stop, well, let me just go check this real quick. Mm-hmm. Don't do it. Push through it. What I like to do is what I call 50-10, 50-10. I make calls for 50 minutes. I take a 10-minute break. On my 10-minute break, for me, I go outside, I walk outside, I just my own personal thing. I look up in the sky, I go smell some flowers, literally, and I just thank the good Lord for, putting me in a wonderful place. And, if I go talk to the lovely Mrs. White, or I don't talk loans. I don't look at email. I don't do anything. I just go chill for 10 minutes. And then I go make 50 minutes more phone calls, and then I'm done for the day. So 50 minutes proactive, 10-minute break, 50 minutes proactive. You do that, I am 1000% confident, based upon literally thousands of loan officers that I've seen and tracked do this, that you'll get your 2, 4, 8 leads per day just by doing that very simple thing. All right, I can see we're coming up on our time. So let me share my screen here. Go back.
By the way, wonderful information, Carl. Things that are really important for us to put in perspective. So thank you.
Yeah, well, it's back. It's a 4-part simple plan. This is not hard stuff. The thing I found about people that made big money, like we said a little bit ago, they're just normal people, but they're disciplined in their activity, and they're disciplined on keeping reactive stuff off their plate, not all day, just 2 hours a day, so they can do their proactive stuff. Now, if we go, all right, Carl, I cleared my plate. I figured out I need this many loans to make this much money because I need that much money to go on these vacations and have this house and this car and help these other families, charities, or build schools, or whatever that thing is. So we have to go, well, what are the things that we all know work? Like, it's time to get the referrals. What do I do? What do I put in place for those referrals? Do I do Facebook ads? Do I do, like, what do I do that works? And I'm going to tell you right now, I've been doing this a long time. And I get asked this question all the time. Carl, what's the number one business tool you use? And I can tell you right now, it's the phone. The phone will outproduce anything else. If let's say if you plop me in the middle of, I don't know, what's a great state? I love Arkansas, beautiful place. Let's say you plop me in the middle of Arkansas, and Carl, you can't use any of your influence. You can't call up any of your buddies. I need you closing 20 loans a month in the next 90 days. What would you do? I'd pick up the phone, 100%. That's the number one tool. It just frankly works. And so on our 4-part simple plan, that's the basics of it is doing phone work. And there's 4 primary calls that we're making. And many of you might have seen this before. These actually originated from an awesome guy. He's not even in the mortgage business. But his name is Dean Jackson, happens to live in Florida, by the way. He lives up near Winter Haven, Florida. And he taught me, Joe Stump, I know, took the same thing, but he came up with these wonderful, wonderful 4 simple phone calls to make every single week. Part 1 of the 4-part simple plan is that what we call the Just Ask program. And that's where we're calling those people that we're already doing loans with and getting more loans from those people. Part 2 is what's called the PALs, the pre-approved looking. How many times have we pre-approved somebody and that's the last time we talked to them, right? It doesn't work that way. You got to call them up, and we call them up every single week. So these are our theme days. So our Just Ask, the update calls, that's done on Tuesdays. Our PALs, our pre-approved looking, we call them on Thursday because that gives us all day Thursday, all day Friday to work up any new pre-approval letter so that we don't get called on the weekend as little as possible. So we call our PALs every single week. On our part 3 is calling our past database. And Linda, some people might think, well, wait a minute, why am I calling my past database? I already refied everybody. They're at 3%. I'm at 9% now, or whatever. Obviously a stretch. Well, maybe not here in a couple of weeks, who knows? But that's where, where we are today. I'm certainly higher than 3, right? And so I can't refinance any of those people. Here's the thing about calling the past database. During the last 2 years, did I get mostly refi referrals from my past database? I did. I got mostly refi referrals from my past database. Funny thing is, this year we're getting almost exclusively purchase referrals from our past database. So it's funny, they know not to refer me anybody for refi because they're not talking about that. Now they got their ears, eyes open for me, looking for those people that are looking to buy a home. And so we're getting mostly purchase referrals. On my past database last month, by the way, we closed 1 loan per 100 people in my database per month. So I'm going to use, I've got a very, very, very large database, but let's say, somebody just getting started last year or 2 or 3 or something like that, and they got, say, 300 people in their past database. I would expect 3 loans per month from that past database. So if you go 3 and making $3,000 per loan, that's like $9,000. It's an extra free $9,000 a month, which for a lot of people, hell, that'd be a good income all in itself. You're talking about $9,000 a month.
Well, yeah, that's right. Just in your data analytics, that $9,000. I mean, that's incredible. That could be a quarter of somebody's salary.
Dude, every $9,000 helps. Every $9,000
sure,
helps.
Absolutely.
So yeah, awesome. So that's the past database. And if you go, hey, I'm brand new, keep in mind, sphere of influence works the same way. So it's that old saying, I think, who was it? Tim Brahim used to say this thing. Who would you invite to your wedding? What friends, my old high school or college chums or like whoever those people would be. If you're brand new, just work on your sphere of influence, right? And I'm going to give you guys all the scripts that we use for these. And then the part 4 is simply calling referral partners, right? Calling a referral partner. And if I don't have any, we'll call prospective ones. So who would I start with first on the referral partner thing? Man, the first people I would start with, I'd bring up a list of all those agents that I closed a loan with in the last 2 years, whether they're a listing agent, buying agent. If I closed a deal with them in the last 2 years, man, I'd start calling those first. And again, I'm gonna give you the scripts to all these. Let me just give you, I can see we're up on time here. Just 2 last things, which is just I'm going to go into a little bit of depth on just one of these, just for like 2 minutes here. If you're just getting started with your calls, I always want to give you like what's the easiest call to make? What's the easiest call and most likely to get a referral from? And I'm going to tell you right now that's the Just Ask campaign, right? That's the Tuesday call, which some people call the update call. And we call the borrower, the co-borrower, the listing agent, the buying agent, the title company, the insurance company, and the seller one time. On the very beginning, we call the seller with the old, oh, where are you guys moving to? And if they're moving, in our case here today, if they're moving in the state of Florida, I app 33%, like almost a full third. I app about a third of all the sellers that were helping the buyer buy their home. I app 33% of those, and I close half of those. So I get about 15%. If I close 100 houses of sellers, I'll close an additional 15 loans on the sellers. So 15 times $3,000. I make really, really, really good money off this. So this is the first call I would make. It's just the critical part about it is you gotta ask for the business on that call. So we're not calling to update them. That's kind of like the Trojan horse that we're kind of riding in on. We're really calling to ask for more business. And Nathaniel, when I first started making these calls, I was petrified. I called, hell, I don't know what's going on with loans, right? I'm out trying to get the next one. I don't know if the appraisal's in. And so I'd spend like, I don't know, an hour or two getting myself ready, taking notes on where everybody at in the file. And I found out they don't really care about that. They just want to know 3 simple things: that we're on track for a smooth, flawless, on-time closing. That's my update every single Tuesday. We're on track for a smooth, flawless, on-time closing. Hey, I know you're busy. I'll let you go. But while I have you, is there anyone else listing agent? Is there another borrower
That's
or
such
another
a great
buyer?
line. Man, that is such a great line. Really
Yeah.
is. So simple. I mean, are some of this language, is some of it like an embedded command or anything like that? Because it seems to me like it's such a non-intrusive request.
Well, you know what it is I know you're busy. That's how I get them off the phone, because these are quick 3-minute calls. I got some calls to make, right? Because I've got borrower, co-borrower, listing agent, buying agent, title company on, even if it's 5 deals in my pipeline, that's 25 people I got to call here. So these need to be short and quick. And I need to teach people I'm a short and quick phone call so that they'll actually take my call. And when I call every Tuesday, they know I'm calling for the update. They want to take my call. And so I know you're busy. That's that kind of lets you know, hey, I got to get off this call, right? It's just I can't say I'm busy. I go, hey, Nathaniel, I know you're busy, so I won't keep you. And this is just a new way to say goodbye. And we found,
I love the while I have you on the phone, or while I got to go, but while I got you, is there anybody else who'd like for me to call? I mean, I love that. It's not intrusive to me.
And here's the thing is, when they say, and most of the time on that call, they say no, just being I mean, sometimes they say yes, but most of the time, no. But what we found when we added this one little thing, can I count on you? Hey, Nathaniel, well, that's totally cool, Nathaniel. Hey, well, let me ask you, can I count on you to give me a call when you do, Nathaniel? Brother, I'd love, let's say you're the listing agent. I'd love to work with you twice this month. Is that okay? Can I count on you? When we added on the can I count on you, we saw a major bump in our closing. So that was very, 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 very useful. So, hey, I know we're out of time here. Let me just fast forward here just real quick. I know I got some really good stuff I wanted to share with you. We don't have time to do all that. And I knew I wouldn't. I knew it was going to run out of time. So let me just fast forward to this page right here. So there's a group of us that hang out. There's no charge for this. This is totally free. We call it the Loan Officer Breakfast Club. We actually have loan officers. We have hundreds of loan officers all around the country sign on every morning, Monday through Thursday, from 8:30 to 9 a.m. And on Monday, we talk about the calls to our real estate agents, rebuttals, objections, how do we overcome them? On Tuesday, we talk about, hey, today's our just ask calls, and we talk about from 8:30 to 9. That way at 9 o'clock, we're off the phone and you're out making your phone calls now for the next 2 hours. On Wednesday, we talk about past database. What does a script for that look like? Again, we just give you everything. On Thursday, we talk about the script for calling our pals, our pre-approved and lookings. How do we get the fence sitters to actually take action? Totally free, 8:30 to 9. And it's not just a couple of us doing our talking heads, like literally hundreds of loan officers are on this thing every morning, and they're sharing ideas. Like we might hear something from Mike Pearson might chip in and say, hey, well, let me tell you about a call I got yesterday, and they gave this objection, and I came with this rebuttal. Anybody think of anything any better, any worse? And we go, man, Mike, that sounds like what you did was great. Or, Bob will come on there, or Lisa come on there and make a suggestion. It's an awesome group. And so if you either take a picture of that fancy dancy little QR code, so they tell me, or whether you type it in, what it's going to do is it'll take you to a page, and I don't think it asks you.
Yeah, you have to read. Yeah, it does. It just asks you for like your name, and it is a very good call, and it's a great. There's a couple of things I want to mention. I generally am on that call. It's a great way to start your morning. It's a positive call. It clears out some of the negative sludge in your mind from the night before. It's a great way to boost the morning, because the facilitators of that call are terrific and they're energetic. I think Frank's on that call, if I'm not mistaken.
Gray.
Frank Gray's on that call. It's a great call. It's highly worth it. It's incredibly generous if you do that. Really for free. It's a labor of love.
But Nathaniel, I just want to say, if you feel guilty that all this is free and you think, Carl, I just got to send you something, you can send me a check if you want. There's no click button or anything like. And I'm just kidding, of course. But yeah.
I thought you were going to say they could send a check to the FAMP and donate the PAC. That would have been
even
cool too.
better. Even better. Yeah. If you feel guilty, man, that's great. you feel guilty that you're getting all this for free, that's a great idea, because I appreciate you guys, Linda, and you, Valerie. You guys, Nathaniel, you've heard me say this literally probably 100 times. If it wasn't for you guys, all of us would be working for the big banks, because back in 08 and 09 and 10, man, we were heading that way as fast as they could carry us there. And it's because of action of you guys and what you guys did that not that there's anything wrong with working with the two banks. I just like having the option not to if I choose not to. That's all.
Right.
I just want the options. And you guys are the ones that made that happen. So I'm forever grateful.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Appreciate that. And I want to ask you just kind of a quick question. I don't see very many questions in the chat box, but there is one. You had a technique you recently talked about that I want to say it is a very purposeful technique. And that was actually contacting the seller on the transaction, which I thought was awesome. My question is kind of not so much an objection, but a clarification. If you call the seller, but you're not contacting the listing agent first to make sure that the listing agent is aware that you're calling the seller to say, because I love your scripting. Your scripting was calling the seller and saying, hey, I just want to let you know how this is going to go. And the seller should be receptive, thinking, wow, this is the lender on the other end. I need to listen to what he's going to say or she's going to say. Yeah. Does the listing agent, have you found the listing agent could get frustrated?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. So let's make the assumption, which is 98 times out of 100, I'm already not working with the listing agent. You follow me?
Yes.
So I already have a no there. It can't get any worse than that, right? So I always go best case, worst case. Best case, I close another loan. Worst case, I still have a no. I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. However, there's another piece of this. So when I call let's say you're the seller, Nathaniel, I'd call you up and say, hey, Nathaniel, my name is Carl White. I work for Linda's Awesome Mortgage Company.com. And I'm the lender for Jane and John Doe, who's buying your house. First of all, congratulations for, if you're the seller, congratulations for using Fred as, whoops, how'd that happen? It's a cool story, by the way. We don't have time to tell it. I'm the lender. We're calling. So I'm calling the seller. So congratulations for choosing Fred as your listing agent. Looks like he got you a very fair price for the amount of time it was on the market. That answer works whether it went on the market today and sold today or it took a year. Looks like he got you a very fair price for the amount of time the property was on the market. And I have to say, I have not worked, if this is the case, I haven't worked with Fred before. I'm absolutely giddy to, because I've heard nothing but great things about him, and I'm really looking forward to it. So how this works is I'm going to be calling Fred every Tuesday and giving him an update of what's going on. So when you want to know what's going on, Nathaniel, all you got to do is call Fred Tuesday afternoons, because I'm going to call him first thing Tuesday morning. Does that sound good? We on the same page here, Nathaniel? And
yes, thank you.
Say yes. Hey, I'm just curious, Nathaniel, where are you guys moving to? And then,
Naples.
Man, that sounds like a great area. Hey, Nathaniel, have you got a house picked out yet, or you looking now that you got your house sold?
We do. We want to move closer to my mom. She's in retirement.
Awesome. Hey, can I ask you who'd you get your pre-approval for on that mortgage? Now, I didn't ask you if you did. Because, not that you would, Nathaniel. People will lie and say yes, but if I ask who did you get it through, they can't think of a lie fast enough. So then they'll tell the truth. 90% of the time, 80% of the time. We actually haven't done that yet. We just want to get our house sold first. So perfect. Well, one thing that we have found, Nathaniel, is that if the buyer, and in your case, the seller, which you're going to be a buyer on the next place, but on your place, if it's being done through the same mortgage company, I'm sure you'd be aware, it would close so much easier and smoother if both deals are going through the same mortgage company. And so I'd love to help you with yours. I'd love to help you with yours and get you pre-approved. Is this a good time to do that, or is this afternoon at 2 o'clock a better time? And so I go right into the application, start taking your application. And almost never will they stop me, like almost never. And if you say, well, you know what, I'm actually already pre-approved, through Bob's Bank. I then asked, oh, awesome. So who referred you to Bob's Bank? And if you say my listing agent, Fred, man, I'm not that familiar with that bank, to be honest with you. But you know what? Fred is an awesome agent. And if he gave you that referral, I bet that's a great, great, great source. So, hey, man, congratulations on buying your new house. And I'm sure Fred's got you completely in control. Remember, call Fred Tuesday afternoon. He'll give you an update. Have a nice day. I don't try to get that loan because I too am going after that listing agent. I end up meeting with either face-to-face or on Zoom, 75% of the listing agents that we're helping their.
That's great.
Yeah. We meet with 75%.
Great conversion. Wow.
Yeah. 75%. Yeah. What's easy? I got their paycheck in my pocket, right? It's the easiest call ever. And so if you recommended the lender, I'm going to leave that alone because I'm not looking to piss you off. But if they say, well, we just saw an ad or that's who we used last time, I'm going to, in a very cool way, I'm going to go after that. And if you say you already are pre-approved with Bank of Naples, I say, well, one service that we offer is to be a watchdog and just review everything to make sure because one thing I have found, Nathaniel, is if you're using who you used last time, one of two things should happen here. Either A, what should happen, they offer you a deal I can't even touch as a frequent flyer. Number two, they think you're not going to look around anywhere and they go for a home run. So why don't you send over the estimate that they send you over so far, the documentation they sent you over so far, and let's make sure that it's number one. We on board with that? Is that okay? Would you like me to help you with that? Would you like a free watchdog here? Not everybody, but almost everybody says, sure. And so the amount of listing agents that call up pissed off because when the listing agent calls the seller and says, well, he called you, well, what did he talk about? Well, he told me how amazing you were. Well, wait till I call him and give him a piece of my mind for saying how amazing I am. It just doesn't happen. So I would say to most people, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody here, take those hypothetical conversations out of your head and start making proactive phone calls.
Because that's a form of call reluctance, right? Would you agree?
And I literally wrote the book on call reluctance, crushing call reluctance for loan officers. The reason I could write that book is I have it, right? I have it. And I've learned instead, I can think of more excuses not to call than I can excuses to call. Mm-hmm. So I just pick up the phone and start calling, and that never goes bad. It never goes bad, never goes bad. And it's resulted in literally, well, $2 billion worth of business. I mean, it's just making phone calls. I'm not smart, as can be clearly seen here. I'm not smarter than anybody. I'm not a particularly great speaker or anything. I fumble for my words. I lose my place sometimes. I don't look like Brad Pitt, and yet I run a $2 billion organization over here. And it's simply because we call more people, period. That's it. It's just that simple.
Mm-hmm. Carl, there was a question in the chat. How can our viewers today reach out to you directly?
I'm on the Breakfast Club every, I mean, there's a couple of things. I hate giving you a whole bunch of different things to do. Like if you want to talk to our team directly over here, if you go to, I think it's dspcall.com, daily success plan call.com. We'll walk you through these 4 things. But on I'm on the Breakfast Club. And so I'd be more than happy to see you there. So the Breakfast Club is one way, dspcall.com is another way. But the Breakfast Club is freaking awesome, and it's no charge whatsoever. And there's a really cool people there. It's like, I promise you, nobody's ever going to say, well, how could you ask that? Or you should know that by now. Like, totally not allowed. And we have a Facebook group page that once you go to join the group, that it'll let me stop this here. It'll give you the option to join a Facebook group too, and we're on there on the Facebook. A lot of people asking questions and giving resources. It's a really, really cool place to hang out. So I love it. We came up with the idea, I don't know, about a year ago or so. I think we got it's 11,000 loan officers as a part of it now. So it grows by about, I don't know, 50 or 60 a day. These days. It's really good. It's a very cool.
You might get another 50 here today.
Well,
exactly.
Would be honored to. So, but anyway, hey, so thanks so much. I know I ran a little over, and I promised myself I wouldn't. So, because I can go on. So so I really appreciate it. I really
all
appreciate
incredibly valuable information.
and I appreciate the opportunity. And again, it's an honor to be a member of the association. I really appreciate you guys and what you do. And man, it's all that behind the scenes. DSP, did I give the wrong? Yeah, just meet me on the Breakfast Club. Just meet me. Somebody said, hey, that took me to something else. So just meet me on the Breakfast Club. Here, there's another. I'll give you another. I know this one works. Loanofficerstrategycall.com. Loanofficerstrategycall.com. That comes to my desk. So loanofficerstrategycall.com. But anyway, Breakfast Club. But be sure to join this. I think everybody here is a member of the association. Make sure you renew your dues, and looking forward to seeing everybody at the next meeting.
Well, thank you,
very
Carl.
much.
We're grateful for your time. As always, thank you so much. Thank you for your generosity and time. Everybody have a wonderful week. Thank you again, Carl.